the installed agent script anymore. But that will be covered in the future office hours.
Yeah, sorry, I was thinking of VCFG. So yeah, the VCTL install needs to be covered.
But it looks like that's also another good candidate for a tutorial, like, no, just because VCTL does so many things. And,
yeah, that's a good point.
So we could just do that as a tutorial and say, okay, these are the great command line tools that you can use to make life easier.
Okay.
Yeah, so appreciate that. Are there any other features that you'd really, that you find useful in VOLTTRON, but hard to get started with, or anything like that? Like the RPC was a good example. Is there any other ones that people have in mind? Well, if you think of anything, or as you're trying to get started with the platform, you just, the documentation is there, but it's not clear how to really get working. Any feedback will help us prioritize the tutorial creation. All right. Great. Okay. Well, thanks. Thanks, James and Chandrika. So, Mark, are you able to talk about the Docker work?
Yes, I am.
All right, great. I'll turn it over to you.
All right, great. Let me share my screen. Let's see here. Where's that button? Share screen. Okay, share. Okay, does everyone see a Firefox browser?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. Let me move this thing that's in the way. Okay, so with VOLTTRON Docker, at least the work I've been doing, and along with help from Craig and Shweth and Chandrika, it's mainly to use Docker to help automate the process of setting up instances in general. And specifically for this case, here we have on our read the docs.
The text is real small.
Oh, it is? Sorry, let me blow it up more. How do I do that? Control.
Oh yeah, because it's
better.
Really wide monitor, so it's.
Oh, let me shrink then my page. I think I can. Does that help?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's
okay. All right. So I'll start over again. So the work I've been doing for Docker, I've been using Docker and Docker Compose to help automate the building of VOLTTRON platforms in general, and specifically here on our Read the Docs, we have a page that talks about VOLTTRON Central, and here what I'll be doing for the demo is to basically automate and create this kind of setup where we have a main VOLTTRON instance called VOLTTRON 1, which has VOLTTRON Central, and then which will have two VOLTTRON remote platforms with a VOLTTRON platform agent that will connect to Central, and then after that's all done, we can see how it's all connected on the browser using the VOLTTRON Web UI feature. In this Read the Docs, it points to a VOLTTRON Central deployment demo, which currently helps users create this manually, in a sense, by going through, here's the page, by going through all these commands on pulling down the repo, creating the instance using all these command lines. So it's kind of like it's manual in the sense that you have to keep typing all these commands, configure each VOLTTRON instance manually, and you type in VCFG And this is quite an effort to do it all, and sometimes it doesn't work the first time around. So one way to help users create Voltron faster and to get through this tutorial quickly. So the end goal is to quickly get through all this and then go on the browser to actually see the web UI and to see all your instances and then create charts as well. So this is the goal here, is get to this web page faster. And using Docker and Docker Compose, it was one idea to at least to make the experience a lot better for folks who want to test out and test drive Voltron. So I'll switch to the terminal to see how this all works. I have everything set up here. So I've pulled down the repo here, and what I'm going to use is Docker Compose to start up all my instances. So there'll be 3 instances, as we saw in that the diagram here. So that's what our Docker Compose will do. So I'm going to start it up. Now it takes a while because it's 3 instances and whatnot. So while we're doing that, I can go to using the Docker command line tools here. I can check out to see what the status is of all my instances. As we can see here, let's spread that out more. Yeah, that's better. So you notice that we have 3 here in the middle here, 3 separate containers that are all being started up. At the top, you have the logs from Docker Compose. And so right now, we can actually check out, see what's going on inside each container. So we can go inside the main container, Voltron 1, which houses Voltron Central. And as it's building up, we can use simple Voltron commands like Voltron status to see what agents have been installed. So far, we have the listener agent, driver agent, and this is on Voltron 1. We could also do the same thing for the other Voltron platform. I think it's Voltron 2 is another one that we can check out. So we can go into there and see what agents are being installed there using Voltron status as well. And we can see that it's getting farther along than the other Voltron 1. But this should, it's probably taking a while to complete. So that while that's building, what happened here? This happens always in demos. Not running. Did I do something? That happens with demos. When they work, when you test it out, and then when you go live, it doesn't work as expected. So I think I got Voltron 1 back up and running again. So here we have Voltron 1 running, and we'll see if I go to the browser now, and I can check out the web UI for Voltron 1, which houses Voltron Central. Let me actually. Oh gosh, that's not working. Let me try that again. I don't know what happened. I'll start over one more time. Control exec, Voltron 1. Okay, so I'm going to start one more time. don't know why this wasn't
Well, and
working.
if the demo demons don't let this happen, we can do a recording and post it later.
Okay. That's what I probably should have done a recording, because this sometimes takes a while to get running.
If people are interested, I think this might be another one to do a tutorial on.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But in general, it'll be to any of you have any feedbacks about using Docker for for your testing purposes, as your staging environment, or even your development environment. Would it help you if we provide Docker images that are like bundled like this, which either be like a VOLTTRON central Docker instance, or like a developer Docker instance, which has like, say, all your PyCharm and other things installed in it, so you can quickly spin it up and then get to writing your agents or testing your agents. Is this something that would be useful to the community as such? Do any of you have any feedbacks, opinions?
Yeah, I have, like, my use case is I have to deploy code to kind of 3 houses, and then that's going to be dev all the time for the next couple of years. So I need to kind of have something where I can change agent code on a cloud service and then redeploy. Would Docker do that? Does it automatically redeploy if you make changes, or can you set it to like automatically redeploy like Heroku does when you make changes, or do you have to push that out every time you make changes?
Docker is just like a scaled down virtual machine, right? It's just a machine, so that you don't have to like install and set up the agent yourself. Like you're not installing you're not logging into a clean Linux box and installing all the prerequisites and cloning VOLTTRON and doing everything. So Docker just gives you all that package. It's just like you can imagine that as a virtual machine with everything packaged in it already.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
it's not really
Prepackages
going to
the libraries. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it
it's
doesn't
not gonna
solve my auto deployment problem.
I know
So
it's
would the Ansible work help with that?
Yeah, for sure. I've looked at that. I have to look at that more. Yeah, that will help.
Okay, and I think we've presented on that in the past, but if it would be useful to have another one, we're getting more experience using it on our own campus deployment. We could make that a future topic. All right, how's it going, Mark?
Get one more shot. I think the demo demons got me.
Okay.
That's one time I was testing out an hour before and it was all working just fine. But yeah, we'll give one more try, and if not, then we'll probably do it for another time. But
the
if
thing
it
that's
doesn't
in
work
progress of being
Yeah.
created. So yeah.
But if it doesn't, if like all of them don't come up, I think it's still valuable to just show like how to spin up one of them, how to how to do a Docker compose up, and then how do you log into it, and know what environment it has and where the files are, so they know what users will know what they're getting. So just spin up one of the 3 machines and log
oh,
in
sure,
into
yeah,
that.
I could do that. Yeah, that'll
Because
probably
that's
be
still
easier.
valuable, right? You can then extrapolate it to other things.
Yeah.
It's just that each Docker image has container has different set of agents installed, but but the basics are still the same. So you can just spin up one of them, log in into it, show where the code is.
Sure, yeah, I could do that. So I've spun up currently 3 instances, and with your Docker command line, you can check out, all right, what instances have been created, and right now we see that there's 3. So I can log into one of them. I'll go into VOLTTRON 2, since VOLTTRON 1 is not cooperating with me for some reason. So what I'll use is I'll just get inside VOLTTRON 2 instances, and we can snoop around and check out what's inside this instance here. If I do VOLTTRON status, I can check out that, all right, it has 5 agents here. We have an actuator, a listener, master driver agent. And if you want to look at the platform or the configuration of your Voltron instance, you can just check out, I believe it's the .voltron directory, and then you can check out where your certificates are, the configuration of this platform. And here I have it using ZMQ because it's configured in that way. And if I were to cat that one out, Voltron config, you can notice here that the configuration of this platform is the name of the instance is Voltron 2. It's using a ZMQ. On top of that, it's also in secure agents, secure agent mode, which is one of our security features. Also, I have this running on HTTPS. By default, it runs on HTTP for the Voltron central address, but I could use HTTP as well. And if there's other things you want to do, you can use all the other commands like vctl auth or just vctl in general, that's one of the ways to get in and check out the instance. Now, if you want to configure your platform, and let's say you don't want to use ZMQ and you don't want to use secure agents, instead of going inside the instance and changing that, you can just go on the repo or on your configuration and the knobs to turn to manipulate or configure your Voltron instance. You'd have to go into the platform configs directory, and let's say platform config 2, since this is the that open. Okay, well, use platform config 3. So here we have is basically configuration. A config file says, all right, this is how you want to set up your Voltron instance according to these agents and config. So here you can notice here that I've set my VIP address to this, centralized address to this. I can set my image or my message bus to ZMQ or RMQ. In this case, I use ZMQ. And if I want to put in secure mode, I just add this additional line called secure agent users to true. Default is false. And then I could also set the name here as well. On top of that, if there's any agents I want to be installed automatically, I just go here and just list each agent and list the source and the config for each agent. So here I have listener, and I provide paths to where this the agent's code is located, and then the configuration to use. So here I have a listener. I have platform driver, which I've installed using a fake driver, and I have an actuator on top of that, and a VCP agent, and also a vanilla SQL historian as well. And on top of that, if you want to configure agents to whatever way you want, you have that control as well. So that would be located here in the configs directory, and then however you want your let's say your listener. Let's say you don't want SQLite, you'd like Postgres. Well, you just change it right here. And for your again, like for your fake config, if you want to manipulate the data that you're being published, you could always just change it here and add an additional row, or maybe just have just one or two data points being written to the bus. So those are like two important directories for to help configure Voltron to your liking. So those are the knobs that you can turn to do that as well.
So Mark, can I summarize saying that it's essentially like a this helps you to spin up a Linux environment with all the prerequisites required for Voltron. It will install Voltron, and you can configure it to say whether you want to install Voltron and configure it with ZMQ or RMQ, and with what agents you want it spun. So once you give the list both the VOLTTRON configuration, list of agents, and the agent configuration. This would spin up a Linux environment for you with everything required for VOLTTRON and the agents installed in it. So you just, you have like a ready-made VOLTTRON instance instead of you having to clone VOLTTRON,
Yes.
take care of all requirements, then install agents one by one manually.
Correct. Yeah, it's and let me check out, let's see if R has it. Demo.
Quick
Oh
question.
no. Oh,
Does it automatically start the agents?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Because our the script that installs agents adds the -- start flag to get them started after they've been installed. You can turn that off if you want, but that's like a knob that you shouldn't turn. I mean, you can. I mean, the code's there for you, but by default, it's configured to have everything moving right away.
Brilliant.
So I want to notice that our my demo is actually working a third time's a charm. So what I'm doing here, what I'm going to demonstrate is this part of the tutorial where you start all your VOLTTRON platforms, and then you want to go on the web UI, and then put in your credentials, and then accept the connecting platforms. So if I go to,
I have a question. So can
Sure.
you explain which one? You have 3 VOLTTRON instances, right? Just explain which
correct.
one is hosting the VOLTTRON central agent, and
Yes.
and the other 2 are running VOLTTRON central platform agents, right?
Yes,
So
correct. So what I have here is in my demo, I have this diagram is what the demo will be doing. So I have a VOLTTRON 1, which houses VOLTTRON Central. And then I have 2 agents or 2 other VOLTTRON instances called VOLTTRON 2 and 3, and they both have VOLTTRON platform. They will be connecting to VOLTTRON 1, which has VOLTTRON Central. And then we can manage that all on the web browser, which I'll be demonstrating for right now, that piece. And the part here where in the web browser, it's actually here in the tutorial where we have to accept VOLTTRON 2 and 3 to be to connect with VOLTTRON 1, just as trying to do. And the tutorial you have to, I believe there's like a accept deny page. Oh, it's not in the screenshot. Well, you'll have to do it manually because that's part of the tutorial. So if I were to go here so I'm on VOLTTRON 1's web UI or endpoint, and I go in here and log in. Oh, that's not the case. Come on. Nope, wrong one. Okay, so notice here that I have VOLTTRON 2 and 3 trying to connect to VOLTTRON 1. You notice the remote IP 172.285.3 and then 5.2. So those map to VOLTTRON 2, 5.2, and to VOLTTRON 3, 5.3. We can verify that if we use the Docker network tool called, we inspect the network that those 2 containers are on, and we check that out. We can notice here that again, we have 5.3, that IP address, that is VOLTTRON 3, and then 5.2, which is not in order. There's 172.2.8.5.2 mapping to VOLTTRON 2. So
I believe you can also just do a hostname -i, right? Like once you log into VOLTTRON 2 or VOLTTRON 1, and that you can just type hostname space -i, and that will show you the IP assigned to that Docker.
Yeah, we could do that right now.
Yeah.
So if we go to, so we're inside VOLTTRON 2, we go to hostname -i, I believe.
MI capital I think.
Capital I.
Yeah. Yeah, so that will show you the IP assigned to the,
So if I go back here and, well, before I prove these guys, if I go to, where is it? So if I go to the web UI, I see that there's only currently one platform connected. Right now is VOLTTRON 1, which makes sense because VOLTTRON 1 has its own VC platform agent, and automatically, at least when you use ZMQ, it connects to the platform without having to go through this certificate request process. But now if I approve, let's say, VOLTTRON 2, and I hit that, then give it a while for it to propagate. But if I were to refresh this page, I should see VOLTTRON 2, and then its agents, I think 5 agents should be showing. Okay, and there it is. And then if we check into here, you see that it has this listener, historian agent, platform agent, and these all map to the agents that you can see if you want to do it on the web UI or on the command line. So we're inside VOLTTRON 2. We check out, let's say, the listener agent, and here's its, I think that's its UID. No, that's not. Where does it show it? Oh, VOLTTRON status doesn't show UID. PID 563. Oh, thought I can see it. Okay. So then if I were to also approve then VOLTTRON 3, then again, I'd see both and refresh. I should see 3 platforms. It takes a while, a little bit. And again, we see its agents as well. VOLTTRON 3 is just another instance similarly configured to VOLTTRON 2. Yeah, and so with that, you know, and I mean, that includes the demo piece. So the goal for just like Chandrik mentioned, it's to help automate the process faster and to get, you know, new users or folks, if we want to check out what Docker can do and to use this user-friendly web endpoint, folks can quickly get to this, and they can go through creating charts if they want to. I think down here you can do it. I think shows an example, or I can just do it right here on the browser as well. So if I want to create a chart, I can just add a chart here and check out any of these topics and play around. Maybe do a stacked area, load the chart, and then I can see.
I guess you can do anything like now that you did it. If you installed it on your own, like it just gives you a working environment that you can just get going, so you can hit the ground running with whatever agents logic that you want to do, or no, that you want to test or try it out, right? So it just gives you something to hit the ground running. And with Docker, another thing that I wanted to bring up here is that you can easily spin these up from your Windows environment too. So if you install Docker Desktop for Windows, and then from your Windows PowerShell, you can just clone this repository which has the Docker file and Docker Compose files, and then you can say Docker Compose up, and it just seamlessly works. And even for the web part, you can, in your Docker Compose file, you can map ports to your local port. Mark, do you have any Docker Compose ports mapped? I think that would be a good one to show. I think you do have a port, like, yeah. So this port mapping, right, 8080 to 8080. So you can, this essentially says that I have mapped my local port 8080 to the port 8080 on within the Docker container. So on your Windows machine, you can go to your local browser, whatever browser that you use, on your Windows, and say localhost :8080, and that will get redirected to the 8080 within your Docker container. So that's another, it's a convenient way to use it. So you don't need to spin up these Docker images from within a Linux environment. So my primary working environment is is a Windows laptop. So I use Docker as my VOLTTRON development environment, and having these port mappings makes it easy for me to work with it without much, I don't have to start up a new virtual machine for it. So that makes life easier for me to work from Windows.
Question about Docker.
Yeah.
The containers, are these mutable, or do you have to destroy and spin it up again if you want to change something?
Right now, I think we've just mapped certain volumes. So when you switch off and shut down and restart, whatever are mapped in those volumes get preserved. But for anything else, we might have to. You'll have, if you change configuration in Docker file, it does recreate the image.
So if I want to say install a new agent, I'll lose whatever state I have previously.
Unless otherwise it's there in one of those mapped volumes.
Okay.
So it depends on what volumes. Mark, I'm not aware what all you map in this case, so you could probably go over that.
Yeah, so for example, for here, I've mounted a malicious agent I created to test out certain security features, and I place it within this directory in the VOLTTRON where the VOLTTRON code lives. So here, since I think with Docker, if you do make changes, well, I think I usually just spin them up or shut down the agent or the container and then have to restart it if I do make changes, even if it's mounted. I haven't actually tested that case where I made a change on the fly while the container is still running and seeing what happens.
No, but I think the question was like, if you restart and if you add a new agent, am I going to lose what is there
oh yeah,
before?
Most likely.
But if you have if you mounted your VOLTTRON home directory, would it preserve the whole thing? Because it's going to point to the same thing. So I think you can just mount your VOLTTRON home as a volume. So in that case, then that would get preserved. And so even if the script is trying to install the agent again, it'll either, if you didn't explicitly provide an identity, then it's going to install a new copy. But if you use the same identity, it'll just say it's already installed and it'll skip to the next. That's how I see. That's how I use it on mine. I just mount my entire VOLTTRON clone directory, and I just spin it up over and over again. But since it's mounted as a volume, it's as a named volume. The volume gets created in outside of the Docker container. It's a persistent volume.
So even if it's recreating the volume itself, it can still be pulling from the old
yes, as
stuff
long
that's
as
there, and it doesn't have to wipe it out and recreate it each time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where volumes come into picture. So as long as you have map it as a named volume, then the named volume is preserved over your shutdown and restart.
Okay, cool.
But if you say, for example, add something in your Docker file to add a prerequisite, something that you missed or something, then it's going to recreate the environment. So it's going to take a while to build the whole Docker image again, but it should still not override anything that is there in your volume.
Okay, good.
Chandrika, can you mention the fact that we are going to put the development environment out on Git soon?
Oh, I think we already pushed a version into Git. Let me see. I don't remember it off the top of my head. I'm trying to just go to that. Let me give you the URL in a minute. Once again. On. Yeah, Mark, can you go to github.com/Voltron Docker? That's the location.
Voltron-Docker.
I thought that's the one, right? Or am I?
No, the development.
No, that's
one.
the development one. I'm sorry. Development.
I think it's not.
Yeah,
out.
it's no, it's a Voltron development environment. github.com/Voltron/Voltron-development/environment. -development/environment. So that's the one. So do you want me to speak about it? If so, then I can share my screen. And
Sure. Mark, are you done with your demo?
Yes.
so if so, I can share my screen. Let me share screen. Oh, it looks like, Mark, you have to stop sharing for me too.
Oh, okay. Well, they can take it away from me.
Share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
I see it. Yeah.
Okay, so it's there in Voltron repository. There's a Voltron development environment repository. This is again just a Voltron Docker image, and it's essentially spinning up a Ubuntu Bionic environment and creates a Unix user called Voltron, clones everything under the user's home directory. And because it's like a development environment, it also installs PyCharm and a few PyCharm plugins that makes life easier. And it also gives you step-by-step installation of how to use it. Like, if you were running on a Windows environment, say it says, okay, you have to install Docker, then you need an X window so that you can, an X server so that you can launch PyCharm, and how to, update, say, your port mappings. Say, so for example, in your Docker Compose, if I say 8563 to 8443, then then you can say localhost : 8563 would point to the containers 8443, which is how I do it. Am I sharing my entire desktop? Let me see. If so, I can share my.
We just see your browser.
Oh, okay. Let me. Sorry. How do I new share? Share my screen. Okay. So now can you see my?
There we go. Yep.
Okay. So here I have, and I wanted to show my Docker Compose, right? So this is my Docker Compose, and it says these are the ports that I'm mapping to the container. So there is a host port and there is a container port. So you can say for this particular, so the first image, I can call it whatever I want. That becomes my host name. And then I have mapped a whole bunch of stuff. So for example, in this case, if I'm running VC on it and I'm running crate database, crate is running on uses 4200, VC runs on 8443, and I'm mapping it to my host port of 4200 and 8453. And similarly, I can spin up how many other versions of the same image, right? So there's literally one Docker image, but I'm spinning multiple copies of it. So I have one Voltron instance that is using these mappings. And this is the volume that I was talking about, right? So I have created two volumes, Voltron1_git and Voltron2_git, which is essentially my working directory or my Git clone directory. So I created two volumes, and in the first Voltron instance, I mapped my volume to inside the container. It's the home Voltron Git directory that gets mapped. So no matter how many times I restart or recreate it, now this volume, everything that is there under home VOLTTRON Git within the container is saved because it's essentially pointing to this VOLTTRON1 Git volume that's existing outside of your container that's spun. And since I have like two containers spinning, I have mapped say 8443 to 8463 instead of no, the 8443 for the first one, right? So it's pointing to different ports. So once, if I have these two spun, and if I want to connect to say create on instance 1, I'll do localhost :4200, and that will connect to the first instance create database. And on the second instance, I connect to 4300, so I can say localhost :4300. So that's a nice thing about having this spun as Docker, and so I can run from my from my local Windows machine without having to install a virtual machine. Shweta, anything else that you want me to cover?
Just the build and the exec commands, and how we can,
Okay.
Have a complete development environment. I've recently started using this, and I find it very useful. I stopped using virtual machine.
Yeah, I personally find this much faster than using a virtual machine, because virtual machine takes a while to boot up, and if I have to take a snapshot, that takes a while too, and it does hang every once in a while, and so it's so come on, this Docker compose up. So I have two instances, a VOLTTRON1 and VOLTTRON2. In this case, this is CentOS based VOLTTRON, but I think what's checked in is here is Ubuntu Bionic based image, but both of them have the same. I just work on CentOS so that we have two different environments to test VOLTTRON. Create a new. Why am I not able to split it? Okay, so now I want to log in into, so I say Docker exec minus IT, which is using saying, give me a TTY prompt and do so interactively. And oh, I should probably first say Docker PS to show what is running. So these are the two images running, and two containers running, and it shows the ports that are mapped to in both the cases. And so I'm going to say Docker exec minus IT Docker underscores, and I'm saying execute the bash command. That's what this command means. It says Docker execute the command bash in this container and do it interactively. So it's going to give me a prompt. Did I type something wrong? Oh, sorry, typo, too many T's. Okay, so this log by default logs me in as root. I could also mention say -u VOLTTRON, so it'll log me in directly as the user VOLTTRON. And if I do a pwd, this is what this is the directory that I was talking about. So my home directory, in this case, I'm logged in as user VOLTTRON, and in this git is the directory in which I check out all my code. And so, and this is the directory that I have mounted as a volume. So when I restart or shut down my computer, the contents of this directory is not lost. So, and do I have xming running? So I do need a X server running to launch anything from. So I have a simple xming server. It's a really tiny software package. So you have a server running. So now if I do PyCharm, this would launch PyCharm using the X window, using the X server that's running on my command. So I have a, oh, this is probably not very readable, the color, or are you, I don't know, you're not reading code. So, but you can see the PyCharm is it should, brings up PyCharm, and now you have a working environment. And I have, this integrated with Git, so I can push and pull stuff for my development easily. And what else can I maybe just start VOLTTRON and show the local port mapping maybe? VOLTTRON. I do not know if I know have a working VOLTTRON. I know it was in the process of development, right? So I do not know if I have something running here to show you, but I can try. But in general, do any of you have any questions about like just spinning up Docker, or or you can give it a try and let us know if it works for you. The documentation here on the page should help you walk through each step of it, like how to start up something, how to install something as root, how to bootstrap, how to launch PyCharm, how to do port mappings. Yeah. So, and another nice thing about this is that how many of our containers that you spin, say in this I have 2, right? But you can always add more, and all of them by default are in the same network. So one can ping to the other, so there is no, you don't have to create 3 different virtual machines, put them all in host-only network, or jump through hoops to set them all in bridged mode so that they can all talk to each other. So by spinning them as Docker images from within a Docker Compose, they all by default go into the same network so they can all talk to each other. So say for in this case, my sent VOLTTRON 1 can do a ping to sent VOLTTRON 2, and it'll be able to ping it without any issues. So that's really what I had to show. I think we're almost.
Thanks, Chandrika.
Yep, thanks. All right, well, thanks a lot. We're at time here, so I guess any quick questions about this? If people do want to have some questions or do have questions, just you can follow up over email, volttron@pnnl.gov, and we can answer those, and appreciate everybody getting on. So we will cancel, the next scheduled one would be New Year's. So we're gonna cancel that one. And so we will see everybody on the 15th for the next office hours.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everybody.
Yep. Hope everybody has good holidays, and talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Christmas.
Woo.
Hey, Jeremy.
Oh, yep.
Can I ask you a question privately when this is over?
Sure. Let's take it on Teams, if that works.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
All right, bye.